Thank you for joining us today. We're going to get started momentarily, but my name is Sunny from the Handshake team. I am really excited to welcome you all here today. Just a couple very quick notes before we get started here. So we'll have about 30 minutes of discussion, and then we're going to save the last 10 to 15 minutes for questions directly from you, the audience. So go ahead and put any questions you have during the event into the Q&A box, and we're going to be doing our best to answer some of them before we end today. So with that, I am thrilled to turn it over to Terry, today's moderator.
Awesome. Thank you, Sunny. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so excited to be here with you today to bring together several accomplished Black professionals in a conversation about their lived experience to share advice and encouragement for the next generation. I actually have worked close to 20 years in and around HR in the learning and development space, most recently as the head of L&D for a few large companies here in New York City. Currently, I'm a career coach, and I help professionals get hired while maneuvering the landscape in corporate America. So I'm very excited to be here and to introduce you to today's panelist, Jameel Bennett. Jameel is an onboarding manager at Duolingo. She has over 12 years of HR experience and has worked in various sectors, including tech, banking, and government contracting. Tabion Payton. Tabion is a senior security engineer at Ripple who creates content about career advice and financial literacy on TikTok. And Sherry McCaskill. Sherry works at Toyota North America, where she develops strategies and oversees operations for all their interns, the co-op programs, diversity outreach programs, and employment branding enterprise. So thank you to our panelists for joining us today. I will be recognizing each of you one by one. To make sure that we get to all the questions that we have, we ask that you try to keep your responses between 1 to 2 minutes. And so we'll get started with a few quick intros about your roles at work. And so in 1 minute, explain to us what it is that you do at your job, like you're actually explaining it to your parents. And so we're going to get started with Sherry.
Somehow I knew you were going to come to me first. Actually my role, I manage, like you said, all of the intern co-op programs across the United States. But then I also oversee all of the employment branding initiatives, diversity outreach, and all of the social media that goes out on all of our websites across North America enterprise-wide. I've been with Toyota 23 years in different capacities, different groups, between parts and service, marketing, and then now in human resources. And I do have to say this is by far my most favorite job that I've had in Toyota.
Awesome. Thank you. Tabion?
Yes. So I'm a senior security engineer. That title can vary a lot of different things, but the main thing that I am focusing right now is threat detection. And to kind of simplify what threat detection is, I am the guy that stopped the hackers from hacking the company. So, in short, sweet terms, that's what I do.
Awesome. We love it. Thank you. Jameel?
Hi, my name is Jameel Bennett. I am the onboarding manager at Duolingo. We are the language learning app. You might know us from TikTok. I do Duo on TikTok. I basically ensure that all of the new people coming into the company are very well taken care of. So I manage the program and what their first 90 days will look like at the company. I've been with Duolingo for over 4 years now. And much like Sherry, this is probably my favorite job so far.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to jump right on into it. Could each of you share how you actually got to where you are today in your career? So maybe it's just a quick overview of your education and any of your other past roles. And so this time we're going to start with you, Jameel.
Sure. I am a graduate of Howard University, where I got my undergrad degree. I thought I was going to be an attorney, but life happened. And so I sort of pivoted. I went on to school at the University of Maryland where I got my master's degree. And I worked in the government sector in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area for about 14 years before I decided to move back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is my hometown and where Duolingo is headquartered. I continued working in banking when I first got here and was actually doing really well, but it was taking me away from people. So I was in human resources, but started to move into governance, which is a lot of paperwork, a lot of legal compliance, which is not necessarily my jam, I learned. And so I decided to look for opportunities that would connect me with people again and landed the job at Duolingo. And it's been magic ever since. So
Awesome.
did I answer the question?
You did. Awesome. Good for you.
Good.
Yes, very good. Tavion?
Yes. So I'm a graduate of the University of North Texas, which is in North Texas. And so my degree is actually in integrative studies. I also have an associate's degree, which is in cybersecurity. And basically my integrative studies degree is one of those degrees that you get just to say, hey, I have a degree. And a lot of people typically ask me, do you need a degree or anything like that to get in this field? And honestly, you don't at all. I just need to have a willingness to learn. For me, I've kind of always been good in computers, always been good with taking stuff apart. And originally when going to college, I thought I was going to be either an entrepreneur or a politician. So the first 2 semesters, I just did terrible. I didn't go to class. I was running track at the time. And I think my first semester, I had like a 0.8 GPA, but it was due to me not going to class. It was not going to class. And I was just trying to avoid of not really trying to take any engineering class, anything like that, because I feel like it was going to be overwhelming. But I finally decided to say, hey, this is something I really enjoy. And I ended up doing very, very well. I ended up graduating college with a 3.3 GPA as well, too. So I turned it around.
Hey.
Yes, you did. Good for you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
What about you, Sherry?
So I'm originally from California, Torrance, California, which is where our headquarters was based. And I relocated to Texas in 2017 with Toyota. I actually went to California State University, Dominguez Hills, where I got my undergrad in business and leadership. And then I went on to get my master's degree in human resources management. I'm going to be very honest. When I started with Toyota, I did not come in a normal route. I was a very non-traditional student, right? I was a little bit more, I'll say seasoned. I'm not going to say older. I was a little bit more seasoned. You know, I had a child. And so I, at that point, was just like, I just need a job that's going to, give me what I need to help, support her as well. But I actually ended up loving it, and then ended up being able to find mentors within the organization that really gave me the opportunity to learn new skill sets and new things, and ended up moving around in different roles. And so I always tell people, I've had about 13 different roles in 4 different divisions across the organization, but each of those roles have been stepping stones to lead me to where I am at today. I love people, and I love development of people, mentoring and things of that nature. And so this particular role that I'm in gives me all of that. And so I didn't think I would end up in this particular job where, I'm handling employment branding and things like that. But it's a job that's given me really great experience and great exposure to new things. And I think that's something that a lot of people, when they think about a career, they think about, oh, I just want to go into engineering. Oh, I just want to be in mechanical engineering. But there's so many other aspects to an organization that when you get in there and you finally see what's there, you can actually make that decision on where you want to go. So that's kind of how I ended up there.
Right. Awesome. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So, what about some advice for your younger self? And so, Sherry, we're going to start with you. We know that you work in talent acquisition for Toyota and have a lot of experience in team building. What advice do you have specifically for young Black professionals just getting started in their careers?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a great question. I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give is when you get into an organization, first of all, have a plan,
Mm,
right? Some type of plan. It doesn't have to be a plan that is 5 to 10 years out, but have something written down to whereas you know where you want to potentially go next, right? The next piece of advice I would say is get a mentor.
mm,
Your mentor does not necessarily have to be the president of an organization or a leader in an organization. A mentor can be a colleague. A mentor can be someone that just works in a different division that maybe you have an active interest in, right? Get a mentor so they can help guide you and give you some of the necessary tools and resources that can help you get to where you want to be. And I think the third piece of advice is always, always have a board of directors that is ready to advocate on your behalf.
mhm.
Because it doesn't matter if you're just coming in as an entry level person, in an entry level role, or if you're coming in as a leader, having those folks that are advocating for you in the room when you're not there
Amen.
is really key, right?
Mhm,
Because you're not there to advocate for yourself and tell everybody how great you are and pat yourself on the back, but
mhm.
they are, and they can show and they can talk about all the great work that you have done, whether it's been on different projects, cross collaboratively, or just in your own workload. And
Mhm,
I said that was the one last piece, but I have one more small piece of advice.
mhm,
Join employee resource group. At Toyota, we call them Toyota Business Partnering Groups, right?
mhm.
Join a BPG because they will help you, they will guide you, they will provide opportunities for you. I think one of the best things that I learned by joining our African collaborative one. Now we have 10, and so I'm part of several. But the one thing that I learned was how to do a career map and a
Mm,
journey map, right? To talk about my journey from before I started with Toyota to going all the way through where I'm at now. And when I tell you that that is something that we didn't know about and we didn't have any concept of, and then after we started sharing that with team members and things like that, that's better than a resume almost.
mhm.
And so those are just some key things that I would say that I would suggest for younger selves. I wish I had that when I was first coming into the company. I did it, but as I went on through my journey, I learned, and it's been the best thing ever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And I would just sort of second the whole idea of having a mentor. Some people call them sponsors. In my career, the
Sponsors.
first company that I worked for, I was with them for about 16 years, did well, but I activated my plan intentionally at the next company. And within 14 months, I went from the national training manager to vice
Yep.
president because
Yep.
my mentor who advocated for me was in the room. She had access to a
Mm-hmm.
space that I did not have in my career, quickly jumped. So thank
Yep.
you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Tavion, you're really open on Black Tech Talk about making money moves, the ins and outs of the tech industry, and even navigating the recruitment process. And you have a dope page, by the way. So I'll follow you and I love it.
Thank you.
If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self any piece of career advice, what would that be?
Oh man, when you say 18, that actually sounds like it's so long ago, but it was only 8 years. But um, so for me though, in college, I definitely would say I've had like an introverted personality when I was in college. Kind of stayed to myself. A lot of classes I did take was online because I understood that I was not going to go to class. I definitely tell people to get involved, especially if you want to get into an industry such as tech or anything, because the industry is so small yet it's big, if that makes sense. Like everyone knows
Oh
everyone.
yeah.
So in order to get a job in here, networking is probably the most important piece that you're going to have to deal with. Like for instance, with me, at the time, I actually used Handshake to get one of my internships as well. But I had reached out to a guy who was very known in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for being a hacker, and he was a CISO at a company. And we had met at a CTF, which is basically a capture the flag type of event where hackers come around, you hack stuff and all of that. And we was on the same team. And he's seen that, I was really passionate about what I was doing. And he offered me an internship on the spot, like didn't ask me to interview or anything like that. But I also had 2 other internships that was paying me more money. But I decided, I was like, hey, this guy's well known. I know I'm going to learn from him. And literally, like every internship that I got after the one he gave me was because of him. They paid me more money. Even like my second full-time job, it was due to him as well too. He was working as a consulting company. He was like, hey, I know this great guy. He'll be a great asset. So kind of getting, like they were saying earlier with the mentor, like find a mentor, really kind of like get to someone you can talk with them, being able to communicate with them. And a lot of times you don't have to ask someone, say, hey, can you be my mentor? Like once they kind of see what you're doing, like you will gravitate towards them, they'll gravitate towards you, and they'll be more willing to help you once they see that you're actually putting in the effort to do a lot of those things, because they're going to see that, hey, this person looks at me as for guidance, resources, and they won't have a problem whatsoever doing that. Even now with people, I have people asking me all the time, hey, can you be a mentor for me? Can you be a mentor for me? My main thing is like, I can't be everyone's mentor. And that's why, like when I'm on TikTok creating content, I try to like make it as personal as possible so that everyone can feel like at least they're getting that mentorship. But most of the times the mentor you're going to have, it's not going to be the person that you see on social media or anything like that. It's going to be the person that you're immediately with, who you're talking with, who you're working with. And they're going to lead you the right way every time. Well, I'm not going to say every time, but they'll lead you the right way most of the time, if it is the right person.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. All right, Jameel, have you ever had any career moments where you questioned your path? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Absolutely. I kind of alluded to this in my intro, but I was working for the banking industry. It was a unique bank where our customers were actually other smaller local banks, and the mission was to push funding in so that they could strengthen and build the community. I loved the work. I loved the people there. I had an amazing mentor and sponsor. And she advocated for me to go into a position in the legal governance office. So high profile, more pay, longevity. And I was not excited about it at all. It just didn't fulfill me on a day-to-day basis. It was a lot of paperwork. It was managing board members who were remote, which at that time we weren't working remotely. And so I just didn't have that face-to-face contact with people. Sherry mentioned earlier, loving the development of others, and I didn't have the opportunity to development. I was really just pushing paper. And so I had to make a decision. I was a single mom, so it's like, I don't want to be jobless, but I also want to do well, right? And for me, you do well and you do better when you enjoy the work that you're doing. And I wasn't enjoying the work at all. So I made an active decision to start looking for work, and came across the position at Duolingo. They were a younger tech company, but established enough at the time that I joined or made the decision to join, that it just seemed right. It was putting me back in human resources. It was connecting me with people. It also had a really good mission. So if I give advice, it's always find something that you're passionate about, right? So I was so excited. I actually went to tell my, boss at the time and my mentor that, I'm resigning, I'm accepting this position. And they
had a fit.
Stalked me over the weekend. Like blowing up my personal phone, sending text messages, emails, calling. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And they're like, tech, you can't go into tech, you don't know what's gonna happen. And they're making you these promises. It can, blow up in a year or two. You have kids to think about. And what do we have to do to keep you here? So funny story, I actually went back to Duolingo, I don't know, this might not be the right thing for
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
But I had a very lengthy conversation with the recruitment manager at the time, and she talked to me like, what do you want out of your career? What are you looking for? And those top things were growth, that I was enjoying the work that I was doing. And that, if I didn't last at Duolingo, I was taking away a new set of skills that I could, develop a career further wherever I were to go. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. A tough one, no doubt. I didn't leave a bad job,
Mhm.
but it was the best decision for me and ultimately my family. So very happy that I did it. So sometimes you got to go in your gut,
Yes,
and always just
absolutely.
do
That
what
is true.
brings you joy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what I hear from all of the responses is a level of thoughtfulness and being intentional with strategy. So I think that, as a younger person thinking about what your career is going to be, you always want to be thoughtful and you always want to be intentional about having a strategy. So
That's true.
thank you all so much for that.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is a 1-minute round. So quick discussion related to evaluating potential employers and mapping out your actual career journey. So Sherry, you mentioned earlier about career journey. So can you each share a red flag and a green flag that you tend to look for whenever you are evaluating a potential employer? And so this time we're going to start with Tavion.
Yeah. So I will start with the red flag first. Again, I represent the tech industry. And so everyone kind of knows in tech, or as if you're a software engineer, you're a security engineer, a data scientist, it's very competitive. And companies know it's very competitive. But if a company is trying to force you to take an offer without allowing you to consider all your choices, then I would probably stay away from that company because they're trying to intimidate and bully you into taking an offer. I've never had a situation where a company say, hey, we need this answer by tomorrow or anything like that. I mean, typically they give you a reasonable enough time to do that. I mean, they're not going to hold the offer for months or anything like that, but they will give you a reasonable enough time to sit there and consider the offer. And they're not, do not go there. A green flag, if a recruiter is upfront about their salary requirements and what they're willing to pay. A lot of times recruiters would try to play the number game and get you to give them a number that you may not be comfortable with, or you just have no insight on that particular position or how much they're paying or anything like that. Because a lot of times for me, recruiters just reach out to me on LinkedIn or anything like that, and they say, hey, this is where we're able to offer. Is it something you're interested in? I say yes or no. And just it makes it so much more easier to go through the process. So those are my green and red flags.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, really quickly, the whole salary thing is really, really big for me. My most popular TikTok is sitting at 6 million views, but it's about allowing the company to give you the range actually first.
Yes.
Because you don't want to undercut yourself. And, so just a quick bit of advice. All right. So Jameel, red flags and green flags.
I'll start with a green flag. For me, a green flag is to go where you can grow. So ask about growth opportunities during the interview process. I don't see anything wrong with that. You know that you don't want to get a job where you're at the same level the whole time that you're there. So ask what career paths look like, what do the ladders look like, what are the opportunities in that role that you're applying for. If they're upfront with you and willing to discuss that with you, to me, that's a green flag. Red flag is if there aren't many people that look like you at the company, which is difficult in tech. I understand. However, we're not an anomaly, right? And so building your network, feeling comfortable, feeling seen and accepted is really important on that day-to-day basis. And so if you are applying for a job and you notice the people who look like you are few and far between, reevaluate that, right? And maybe ask questions about what their hiring practices are, what are their diversity goals, kind of inquire so you can see where the company, where they stand on that, what the efforts they're making to increase representation. But lead with caution if you don't see a lot of folks, especially in leadership positions. To me, that's also really important because it shows there's room for you and there's an opportunity for you there. So.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you for that. Sherry?
So for me, my red flag is no growth within the organization. If I'm looking for a position and I see that, you know, there are folks in, let's say, HR or something like that, has been in the same job 5, 10, 8 years, I might question that, right? I might say, yeah, maybe that might not be for me because I'm looking for areas of opportunity to move and to develop, right? So I can grow my skill sets because that's the whole thing. My green flag is stability in culture. And let me share what I mean about stability and culture. First of all, stability, you know, in the last 23 years that I've been with Toyota, you know, we are not an organization that looks at, you know, layoffs and things like that. We really want to take care of our people. And so we find different ways to be able to do that, right? You know, during the pandemic or other issues that we've had in the past, we've been able to make sure that our team members have been taken care of and we've all remained, you know, employed in one way or the other, whether it's, you know, we're helping the communities and we're still, you know, having our team members, you know, on their payrolls and things like that, you know, making sure that them and their families are taken care of because we are a family. We have 48,000 team members across the country, but we're still a family no matter what. And so making sure that stability is there, but then also the culture is there, right? Part of our culture and our philosophy, and this is something that I live and breathe every single day when I go to the organization, is respect for people. Being able to have that respect for the diverse backgrounds, the diversity of thought, things of that nature, right? Because if you don't have that, you can't have an innovative company such as Toyota. And so being able to see that, feel that, and you can feel it when you're going into an interview, right? Because you're not just going into an interview and you're going to talk to one person. You're going to probably talk 2, 3, 4 different people. But then you also probably know people that work for the organization as well that will give you the real deal, right? And so being able to have those two things, the stability and the culture, and being able to be seen, be heard, your voice be heard, and they really actively listen to the team members is key for me. And I think that's one of the reasons that has kept me with Toyota for the amount of years that it has, and for me to move across the country to, you know, to Dallas from California, are for those reasons. And so I think those are the 3 biggest things for me.
Awesome.
Especially as it pertains to stability and culture.
Got it. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome? And if you have or had, what advice would you give to someone about overcoming that feeling? So we'll just get one of you to answer that. And so I said I would pick one, but does anyone feel compelled to answer that question about imposter syndrome and how you dealt with it?
No, I can do that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, again, I was very young in this industry. I started at the age of 19, and with me being able to advance at some positions, and I know I became a senior consultant at the age of about 21. And at that time, like everyone I was working with on my team was probably 40 years, 30 years older than me. And I was leading projects, and they will always kind of like second guess my work. Hey, like, hey, are you sure you've done this? Did you check this? Did you do this? And at first, I didn't think nothing of it. I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of like my first role as a senior consultant. I am kind of leading some of these projects. Maybe they're trying to help me out or something. And then it just really started becoming like more aggressive, I guess, for the more like to kind of put it in words. And I never was like just noticing. So I started talking with people that was older than me, that looked like me. And I was like, had these conversations with them. I'm like, well, I'm very good at my job. Like either like they wouldn't tell me to lead this project or do anything like that. And so I would just have discussions, and I kind of brought it up. I was like, hey, like, like, is there like a problem? Is there something? And consulting, if you ever worked in consulting, is very political. It is extremely political. And some people just felt because I was as young as I was that I shouldn't be leading certain projects or anything like that. So ultimately, I ended up leaving the company, and that's when I originally then became a security engineer. So personally, I guess the way just, kind of, I'm not going to say check it, but to understand like what's going on and overcome it. Most of the time, it's just in your head for the most part. You're probably good at what you're doing. If it was not good, they would not have hired you. They would not put you in a position to succeed or to do any of that. No one's going to put you into a position to fail, because if you fail, then the company failed or the team failed. And if they feel like you can do it, most likely you can do it. It's just inside of your head. So don't think too heavy on it.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing that. And you mentioned something which really leads directly into the next question. You had a conversation with people that look like you. And so in terms of knowing and networking with people, have any of you built a solid network of other Black professionals? How did you start? And what would you recommend for today's students and grads? So we'll start with you, Sherry.
So yes, I have built a solid network of folks that look just like me, right? And I don't just include, women in that, right? I want to have diverse perspectives. So I definitely feel that having, a man's perspective is extremely important too, because they may see things that we don't see, right? And so I have done that. And the way I did that was that I just, number one, I used our ERG group, because that was extremely important, right? Because they have so many different people with so many different diverse backgrounds in there that can help you, and that can provide really great guidance and advice that can help you pull forward what you're trying to do. The advice that I would give to the younger generation is, utilize those opportunities and those tools and resources that you're being given, right? A lot of times I think they feel that they may be a waste of time. Oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to participate in that. I don't have time to volunteer. No, that's not it. It's not just about the volunteering or the spending time doing things within those ERGs. It's also building that network of people that you need in order to help you grow and to help you develop. And so it's been very key in my career. And a lot of the folks that I have still, that I connect with and that I still have in my circle, I've known them for many, many years. And they still give me really great advice when I need it, when there's something that maybe I'm a little bit unsure of, because we all have those things, right? We all have those insecurities about certain things, whether you can do a job, whether you want to do a job. But they're always willing and they're always able to jump right in to give me that solid advice and to give me that encouragement and uplift me to help me feel that is something that I can do and I can knock it out of the park. So
Excellent.
That would be my advice.
Having a strong, powerful network of people that look like you is definitely the cheat code. Thanks so much.
And
for
a
sharing.
mixture.
Absolutely.
A mixture. Don't just, not just women, because we have a lot of wonderful, powerful women at our organization, but we also have some really great, powerful men that also have some really great perspectives on, even though I'm a woman, how I can get to where I want to be at the next level within my career.
Excellent. Thanks so much for sharing that. Okay, next question. What's a common mistake that you see people making actually in the job search or the actual application process? We'll start with you, Tavion.
Yes. I see this a lot. People blindly applying for positions. Like, it's applying to jobs is so different from what it was. Again, I'm still young, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, it's completely different. What I like to try to tell people, use LinkedIn. Like, every job offer, every internship, it has come either through a network or through LinkedIn. It's gotten to the point where I don't even have to apply to jobs anymore. And I always try to tell people, especially when they're trying to make career transitions or go into a field as an entry-level individual, most of the times when LinkedIn have job postings, they have like either the recruiter, the hiring manager, like it's someone that you can email and write a message to. Because most of the time when you're making a career transition or you're an entry-level individual, your resume it's not going to paint the entire picture of what you know and what you're currently doing. And so when you reach out to them, they're able to kind of get that connection and that feeling like, hey, this guy's really, this guy or girl, they're very interested in this. They're very passionate about it. And you're able to tell them like, hey, I've seen this position open. I'm really interested into it. I think I'd be a great asset. These are some of the things that I have been doing to like learn this skill or convert over or make this career transition. And most likely you're going to get a response. They're going to say, hey, I think this would be a good fit. Let's jump on a call. Or it's like, hey, I don't think it's a good fit. Either way, you're not going to be waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for a rejection. You're going to know right away. So I definitely say use LinkedIn, email people, connect as many recruiters as you can or hiring managers, and just network. And sometimes you may not get that job, but still keep that recruiter in your network because they may think of you when there's another opportunity that matches your skill set. And they say, hey, I know someone that can do this, contact you. And, the journey, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes.
Excellent. Jameel, what are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with Tavion. I strongly recommend doing your research. So Glassdoor is another tool available to you for you to kind of learn more about the position. Not all companies are going to be forthcoming with salary ranges. So do your homework on that position and understand what the range is, and don't be afraid to negotiate for yourself. You know what your worth is, right? And if you don't, you should. And so it's not taboo or bad for you to go ahead and ask for what you think you're worth. But doing the research ahead of time, use LinkedIn to get to know the team that you possibly could be working on, not just the recruiters, but everyone involved in the work that you'll be doing to see, do they have skill sets that you want to adapt? How far have they gone in the company? Do they post positively about the company, right? Which shows that they enjoy working there. I think Sherry talked about that culture, right? And the stability. I think those are things that you can pick up on when you do your research on a company. So I strongly believe in doing that when you're going through the job search.
Awesome. All right. So I think we've gotten some really great questions to come in. Please add any others to the Q&A section, and we'll get to as many as we can. So let me check out to see what we have. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. What tips would you recommend when going in an interview or beforehand to prepare? So I can actually take that one. So I think that it's really, we've heard this already, but actually taking the opportunity to research the company. Oftentimes before an interview, you'll know who's going to be interviewing you. Find that person's LinkedIn page. And here's a cheat code. Actually, if it's in this, depending upon what their position is, analyze and look how that person who's going to be interviewing you describes their own experience, and look at the keywords that they use to describe that experience within that industry, and try to incorporate some of those things into your actual responses. I think it's really, really important to basic interviewing questions. Why do you want to work here? Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths, weaknesses? Go through all of those, prep answers, and even do a bit of research for typical questions that are going to be asked for your industry. And as was mentioned earlier, know how much you want to make. While you may want to get the person on the other side of the table to give you the salary, always have a number and always be ready to give it. So that's sort of my advice for that. Okay, so this question is for Sherry. You mentioned the importance of finding a mentor and a board of directors who can sing your praises when you're not in the room. Do you have any guidance for how to identify and ask somebody to be your advocate, sponsor, or mentor at work?
So there's a couple different ways that can actually happen. It can happen organically with just people that you meet, that you connect with, things like that. But there's also a tool that we use at our organization that can actually match team members with mentors who want to volunteer to be mentors. And so we do utilize that quite a bit, right? We also encourage our team members and our interns and co-ops that come in, because I can't forget about my interns that come in, because we do have them do the same thing. But we have them network in other areas of the other organization for them to just kind of get a feel of other people, whether it's executives, whether it's team members, or things like that. To whereas when they are looking for a mentor, they can say, hey, wait a minute, I saw Sherry, I heard her talk about X, Y, and Z. Her and I may be a good fit. And just to give a quick example, just recently, someone that I knew, I did not have a lot of interaction with her, but she knew me from different speaking engagements that I did with regards to diversity and inclusion and my work within HR. And she came to me and she said, I really don't know you very well. However, I know your work ethic, and I've seen how you work with your team, and I see how you integrate with others across the organization. Would you mind being a mentor for me? And so for me, that was powerful, because that shows that I have the capability to inspire others. So when you're looking to do things like that, look for people that that will inspire you, that will encourage you, that will uplift you, that you see how they are, how they perform in their work duties, how they lead. Leadership is a really big piece of it, right? Mm-hmm. How they lead their teams, how they, conduct themselves. They can't just talk the talk, they have to walk the walk too. Mm-hmm. And so I would say things like that will help you out. And then also I always go back to my ERGs. Your ERGs will be your biggest advocates too when you're trying to find a mentor or a board of directors or a sponsor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So this question is for Jameel. I'm very similar to you in that I love working with people, and I love that all through your job, although your job is in tech and not necessarily technical, I too am searching for positions that deal with working with people, such as human resources. However, it is hard to find a mentor and to find an internship for someone with less professional experience. Any tips or advice on what I could do?
Absolutely. There are a lot of networks out there that you could join, probably in your area locally, that focus on human resources. I have a SHRM certification, which was a great way for me to build a network just within the human resources realm alone. Professional women's networks are also a great way for you to kind of get your foot in the door with not only identifying potential mentors or sponsors, but learning about positions that are available in your area. And, we've all talked about LinkedIn, also a great way for you to kind of just put the feelers out there. Don't be afraid to go slide into my DM and just ask, what's open,
right?
Here, you have to be, someone told me that you always have to have your elevator pitch ready, whether it's verbally or written, right? Yep. So if you come across someone that's in that field in 2 to 3 minutes, how are you going to sell yourself? Mm-hmm. And it could either be, the result could either be a relationship, right? That when something does come up, they'll think of you, or it could be an immediate opportunity that they might suggest you apply for. So don't be afraid to sell yourself. Try to join networks. There are a lot of networks on LinkedIn as well for human resources professionals too.
Awesome. So we do have, I know we're almost out of time, but I have a really quick question for Tavion. It's for their freshman major in information systems. And I know that's your area. So they're interested in cybersecurity and software engineering. What is the best way to land internships to move up the ladder quickly and to stand out from others? If you can give some quick advice on that.
Okay, yeah. So the major key when it comes to that, when you're thinking about information systems, there's hundreds, thousands of people that are applying, trying to get internships, and all of those great things. How you're going to stand away from the crowd is networking. You can download this app called Meetup, and anything that you want to look for or go to events for, it's on there and it's free. I know for here in Dallas Fort Worth area, we have hacker groups, we have cybersecurity, software engineering. Anything you can think of, it is probably on the Meetup app. And when you go there, communicate, tell people, hey, like I'm very interested, like make it be known you're a current college student, you're looking for internships, you're looking for job opportunities. And I promise you, someone will talk to you because literally recruiters go there looking for people like you. And again, like if you're not going out networking or anything like that, and you're doing a blind applying method, no one's ever going to really reach out to you unless you just have an amazing resume and it's perfected by the ATS systems. And even nowadays, that's not even going to be that great because hundreds and thousands of applicants are now reaching out, talking directly to the recruiters or they're networking and things like that. So networking is going to be the key for anything, for any job, honestly, is going to be key, but especially in technology, because again, the industry is yet small, but big. Once you start interacting and talking to people, they're going to introduce you to people. People want to know who you are. They're going to know your name, and it just get bigger from there.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. So at this point, I'm going to turn the conversation back over to Sunny.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all again for joining us. And I'm sorry we couldn't get to all your questions, but we're going to be doing our best to compile them and answer them on Instagram. So follow us on Instagram at Join Handshake. And please join me in the chat to thank all our speakers for all their wonderful advice and experience. And if you have 30 seconds to fill out our feedback survey in the chat, we'll love your feedback and we'll use that to create more awesome events for you in the future. We have a ton more events coming up next month, so you can check them out at the link in the chat or on our Instagram page. And that is it for today. So thank you so much again and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.